What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panfro Games. In today's video, we're going to be talking about all of the strongest Pokemon, in my opinion, coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. These are all going to be new Pokemon, and now we have the information on their stats, their abilities, their move pools, including the TM moves as well. So there is a lot to dive into. And of course, guys, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like the video. I really appreciate it. Let's begin with Meowscarada. This thing's an absolute monster of 123 speed and 110 attack. Decent defenses, but the fact that we can change our type with its ability Protein is going to be pretty monstrous, and it has tons of moves to actually utilize this, especially U-turn, which is going to be more important now than ever, especially since they nerf Protein, because you can only change your type once while you're out of battle. So you change your type, however, once you leave battle, like let's say you use U-turn, then you come back out again, then you can change your type again. So U-turn is going to be a must-have move for sure. Flower Trick is the signature move, and that's a must-have as well, as is a grass-type move that always crits, so you're going to be able to get through setup mons very easily. And honestly, the fact that you learn Knockoff is probably the best move in all Pokemon still, and it's going to be a stab knockoff too, because one's already stab, but you already have Protein too. That's insane. And then we get a nice coverage move, so we can put like Play Rough, we can put Thunder Punch, we can put Shadow Claw, Brick Break, Aerial Ace, Acrobatics. There's a lot of things we can do, even Trailblaze if you want to go down that route. Terra Blast, of course. This thing's going to be pretty monstrous, so definitely watch out for this thing in the competitive lobbies. Another mon I want to bring up, which may not be as good as its other two counterparts, Skelly Dirge. It's pretty good in my opinion. I think it has some use in maybe VGC more than singles, just because the typing isn't too great, because, you know, Ghost Fire, there's a lot of water, a lot of dark presence out there to beat it, but it does have Unaware, and it actually gets the egg move, Slack Off. So this thing is going to be very tanky, and its signature attack will increase its special attack too. It learns Earth Power. It has that signature attack as well, which is Torch Song. You can also put like Fire Blast. It has Will-O-Wisp, Shadow Ball. This thing is actually going to be pretty solid. I just don't think it's going to be good as a Meowscarada for sure. And honestly, when we compare it to Quaquavala, it's like not as good as this either. This thing is going to be a monster. The fact that this thing has Moxie and it's water fighting, and the fact that its signature move Aqua Step increases its speed stat, I just think that this Pokemon is going to be pretty good overall, and Skelly Dirge just does not have the absolute brokenness that both these other Pokemon have, in my opinion. Speaking about Quaquaval, this thing is a beast. As I said, Aqua Step is a must-have on it. It gets close combat, liquidation, acrobatics, wave crash just from level up, and then the TMs are great. We also get Swords Dance on this thing, which is pretty sweet, honestly. And there's a bunch of other options. You can go Brave Bird if you really wanted to go ham. There's U-turn as well, so you can always get a nice switch out. This thing I think is going to be great, and there's a couple of ice moves as well too that are interesting. We get Ice Spinner, which is pretty interesting. So I think this thing's going to be overall a great mon. To note that none of the starters actually get the move Earthquake though, so that's a little bit disappointing. Doesn't have the perfect coverage, but I think it's going to be pretty good. Also, want to mention it does get Bulk Up, which, you know, if you want to run a bulkier set on this guy while increasing your speed, it is a possibility. Now, this one's more of a meme, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to use this in competitive. I don't think it will end up being OU, but it's definitely going to be UU. And Dunsparce's evolution, the Dudunsparce, is going to be great because 125 HP and 100 attack and actually sort of bulky defenses at the end of the day. And Serene Grace is great. But I do think the best set probably won't even utilize Serene Grace, because looking at its moveset here, we get Coil, we have Earthquake, and, you know, we actually get Body Press now from a TM. Body Press is going to be really great on this Pokemon, so we can be stacking up coils, increasing our attack and our defense, and then using Body Press is going to be really strong. And we got a new signature attack, Hyper Drill, which is a 100 damage, 100 accuracy normal move that goes through Protect and Detect. So I think that personally that's going to be the best set, but you could go Serene Grace, obviously, with a Glare, Body Slam, or like Glare and Headbutt to just try to paralyze some guys and then flint stall them, which would actually work pretty well too. And it actually has 85 special attack, and we got boom burst. So if you go like choice spec boom burst, this thing's gonna be a monster, honestly. Especially if terrestrialize and make it a normal type, and you get the double stab boom burst. It's 100% a meme, but I believe in memes sometimes. Now, I don't think a lot of people are going to be talking about this Pokemon, but I think Rabsca is actually viable for Trick Room in VGC. It's Bug Psychic, it has really good special attack, and it's pretty slow, 115 special attack, 45 speed. It does learn Trick Room, but it also has a new move called Revival Blessing. Only 2 Pokemon get it, and it'll actually allow you to revive a fainted Pokemon in your party to 50%. You can only use this once, but that's the only downside of it. So that's already one to mention. It does get Psychic Terrain, which is really good. Stored Power is pretty good. Trick Room, as I mentioned, tons of special attacking moves like Bug Buzz, Power Gem, Earth Power, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Calm Mind, Psyshock. This thing has a lot of moves, speed swap, power swap. There's a lot of different things that this Pokemon gets, and I do think it has potential in the VGC scene. Now we have the Dondozo, which I think is going to be bad in singles because it does not have any sort of recovery for an unaware user, which is pretty important. But I think for doubles, it actually has a lot of viability because that 35 speed makes it a pretty solid Trick Room Pokemon. 150 HP of 110 attack and 150 defense is going to make this a potential Trick Room sweeper, and it gets everything you actually need. It has all the good stab water moves. Wave Crash is going to be really good. Also gets Body Slam as well. Gets Earthquake, Waterfall, Avalanche too if you need to go down that route. Liquidation, Body Press. This is a Pokemon that should be feared at the end of the day. And now we have Palafin, which I think is a really interesting Pokemon. So Palafin doesn't normally have these stats. This is the hero mode. In order to activate hero mode, you need to switch out, and then the next time it comes back out, you get hero mode. And the fact that you have 650 BST, 160 attack with 100 speed, and pretty great defenses across the board makes this thing an absolute menace. Yes, you got to proc the ability, but the fact that you do have Flip Turn means, okay, that's a one really solid move, right? There is a new move called Jet Punch, which is, it looks like to be a priority water move, but we're not 100% sure exactly what it is because we haven't seen the damage or description on it, but I do want to bring that out. But it does get a solid move set at the end of the day. We get Acrobatics, which is great. It also gets Aqua Jet too. Wave Crash is pretty solid. Ice Punch is great. Of course, it gets all the standard like water ice moves like they usually would get. Does get Outrage too if you want to get a solid dragon move. You can set up with Bulk Up. You do have Close Combat as well, which is probably going to be a standard move on it. Also, Iron Head is great in Liquidation. So I think this is a Pokemon that's going to require some sort of team strategy around, but I think it'll be really good in single play. Orthworm is a really interesting Pokemon because it has 145 defense and it does get Body Press. And I think that alone makes it worth mentioning. It also gets pretty good stab moves like Iron Tail. It gets Earthquake. Shed Tail is a brand new move. Essentially creates a substitute for you and then it switches out, which is a great move, and only Cyclizar is the only other Pokemon that gets it. Of course, being a Steel type's great, and Earth Eater makes it immune to ground type moves. So I think this Pokemon has a lot of viability. Also has Iron Head, Stomping Tantrum too if you want to go down that route. Terra Blast is a solid option for this thing, and you get Stealth Rock. So this may be the new Stealth Rock Pokemon for singles. And now we got Maushold, which I think is going to be a beast in both singles and in VGC. One, it does get Friend Guard for VGC play, and it actually has real stats to use it. 470 is pretty good, better than what we've been using with Clefairy this entire time, right? And 111 speed is something that cannot be ignored, but it only has 75 attack. However, it does have Technician, and if you want to do damage with this thing, it lets a move called Population Bomb. Population Bomb hits up to 10 times. We are thinking that this move is going to hit for, 15 damage? Makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's going to hit 10 times. But there's an item called Loaded Dice, which makes it so you'll always hit the maximum amount. So this is a stab normal move that's going to hit 10 times. That is Technician boosted. That is insane. It doesn't even matter what the other moves are at the end of the day. And there is like other moves like Bullet Seed, which is nice for like something like Loaded Dice, has Beat Up, Play Rough. I mean, it has some other decent stuff, but Population Bomb hitting 10 times will most likely be the move you will always hit unless you're facing a ghost type. So do not sleep on Maushold. I really think this Pokemon is a sleeper threat. And then we have Cetitan with 170 HP, 113 attack, and 73 speed. With Slush Rush, that speed is going to be crazy. And because all ice types get a boost in Hail now to 50% to their defense, Cetitan's going to be real thick. But it also has Sheer Force, so you can run it outside of Hail too. Gives you a lot of options. But the fact that this Pokemon gets Ice Spinner, Body Press, Liquidation, Earthquake, this thing has a lot of options to use, and I think this Pokemon is going to be an absolute monster. And of course, the pseudo-legendary Baxcalibur is insane. 145 attack, 150 defense, great defensive across the board, and 87 speed. A little bit slow, but Dragon Ice is amazing attacking types, and Thermal Exchange's new abilities also great. Essentially, when it gets hit by a fire move, it's attacks that will go up by 1, and it can't be burned. That is great, especially for a physical attacker. He has a new move called Glaive Rush. We don't know what this move does yet, but it's probably going to be pretty good, and it sounds like it's going to be an ice move. But even ignoring that, it gets Ice Shard, so this Pokemon does have priority, which is phenomenal. You also get Dragon Claw, you get Crunch, you get Icicle Crash, all from level up. And of course, it gets Dragon Dance too. So there you go. This Pokemon's going to be sweeping hard. Stomping Transform's pretty great. You could run Body Press on it. Sword Stance variants are welcome too. And there is Earthquake, Brick Break as well. Now, we have Pawmont. And a lot of people weren't saying Pawmont wasn't going to be good. This thing's a monster. Electric Fighting, and it gets Iron Fist and Volt Absorb. This thing also has Revival Blessing, which we already talked about. It will revive a Pokemon at 50%. And this thing has Close Combat. It also has Speed Control with Thunder Wave and Nuzzle. It gets all of the elemental punches too. Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. This thing has so many moves. You can also run Volt Switch on it, Play Rough on it. You can set up terrain with this guy too. This guy also gets Thunder Fang. You just want to go with that. Or Crunch, Facade, whatever. This Pokemon gets so many moves, and I think it's going to be great. Double Shock, in my opinion, isn't too great because you lose your electric typing, so you can become a mono fighting type if you want to go down that route. But honestly, yeah, this thing's a beast. So Pawmont, be on the lookout. Now, I do want to mention Kilowattrel for a moment. It has really good special attack and speed, gets Tailwind. This Pokemon, unfortunately, Wind Power is not a great ability for it. But I'll say this is probably going to be the best Rain Sweeper until Pokemon Home comes out. You get Thunder, you get Hurricane, and you get Weather Ball. So definitely watch out. If you're running a rain team, then Kilowattrel is definitely something you want on your team. And next up, Skirnackle, which I think is going to be an excellent Trick Room Pokemon, but also has just great stats across the board, even with 90 Spadef, which is crazy for a mono rock type, and 130 defense is actually pretty crazy. It does get Body Press, of course, so we could be running that. It's going to be super strong. Gets Stealth Rocks as well, so you could potentially run it in singles. Gets Earthquake and Stone Edge for some really nice moves. And his signature move is actually good. I don't know if it will actually be good enough to use, but it is super effective against water and steel types. So that is something worth mentioning. Bramblegeist is going to be an insane Pokemon, especially for VGC. Its ability, Wind Rider, is crazy. Is essentially immune to all wind moves. And when it gets hit by a wind move, it will get +1 attack, which is great. And yes, Tailwind does proc this, so you can use Tailwind to get a speed boost for your team and get +1 attack. So Bramblegeist with 115 attack and then a Tailwind boost at that 90 speed is gonna be pretty crazy. You know, you can get Seed Bomb out here. You do have Phantom Force, you have Power Whip. It's maybe not the best move pool overall at the end of the day, and we're really hoping for the move Poltegeist. Golden Go is going to be a crazy Pokemon. It has a high stat spread, 133 special attack and 84 speed, and is not affected by any status moves with good as gold as its ability. The fact that it has Nasty Plot is crazy, and you know, you get Shadow Ball, you get Thunderbolt, you're gonna have Power Gem, Flash Cannon, you can even go with Charge Beam route, Psyshock. This thing's going to be really monstrous, so be on the watch out for that. And now we got the Paradox Pokemon, and honestly, none of them are actually really bad. Great Tusk is great. It gets Hegla on strong and close combat. So this thing's going to be an absolute monster with that 131 attack. Brute Bonnet is still good because it has all of the Amoonguss moves like Spore and Rage Powder, but now it has a really high attacking stat, so you can actually do some things with this instead of being more of a passive Pokemon. And it gets close combat too. This thing is going to be crazy with 127 attack. Yeah, it's 55 speed is a little bit awkward, but I think it's going to be really great. Sandy Shocks is going to be a beast too, of 121 special attack and 101 speed. This thing is going to have Thunderbolt. It's going to have Earth Power. And that's honestly all you truly need on this thing. It does have some other decent moves, but it's sort of a limited move pool. I mean, you could run Mud Shot on it if you wanted to. I wouldn't see why. Flash Cannon is pretty decent. There is Volt Switch, so it's going to be pretty limited with this guy, but the stats are pretty good how they're spread out. Scream Tail is interesting. Fairy and Psychic. I don't really like the stat spread on this thing, but it does get a lot of setup moves. Like you can set up Calm Mind or Bulk Up with this thing. So, and I think it's going to be pretty decent if you can set up, but it's not going to be outright broken, unlike its counterpart Fluttermane, which I think is going straight to Ubers. This thing is Ghost and Fairy with 135 speed, special attack, and special defense, and the moves here are just nutty. I mean, Moonblast, Psyshock, Power Gem, Shadow Ball, Mystical Fire, Dazzling Gleam. So, like there's just a lot going on with this guy, and even Pain Split if you want to get some more HP back. Also has Charge Beam and Energy Ball down here. Calm Mind too. Doesn't have Nasty Plot, so it's not as broken as it could have been. Slitherwing, Bug and Fighting with that 135 attack, only 81 speed, and unfortunately, this thing does not get a Quiver Dance or Victory Dance. So it's not as good as it could have been, but it does have First Impression, which is pretty decent. Dual Wing Beat is going to be good on it too. Earthquake, Leech Life are going to be big staple moves on it. It does get Bulk Up as well and Close Combat. So yeah, this Pokemon's going to be really solid. And then Roaring Moon, and this thing's an absolute monster. This is maybe the best Pokemon added to the game, with 139 attack and 119 speed and phenomenal defenses across the board. This thing is crazy with the different options. I mean, it's options like Night Slash, Dragon Dance, Throat Chop, Dragon Claw, Outrage. It even has a Roost too, and it has so many good other moves like Earthquake down here. You can even run some special moves like Fire Blast if you want to get through something as well. Of course, it gets Draco, Iron Head, Stone Edge, Acrobatics. Crazy. This thing is going to be crazy. Yeah, it doesn't have knockoff, but that's okay. I think it would be too OP if it had knockoff. Iron Treads is going to be pretty strong. Does get Steel Roller and Earthquake, so it's going to have some pretty decent stab moves for it. Body Press that utilize that 120 defense is really good, and Ice Spinner as well. Also has Volt Switch, so you can get a nice get out of here card. Iron Moth, once again, a Volcarona clone that does not have Quiver Dance here, which is very sad, but with 140 special attack and 110 speed, it's still going to be amazing. It's still going to be the best fairy killer out there with fire and poison, and it actually has a great moveset. Fiery Dance, Sludge Wave, Bug Buzz, Overheat, still has Hurricane. You can even run Charge Beam on it too. There's just a lot of different options as well. And I mean, it could be really good in VGC play as well. It even has Heat Wave, so I would actually recommend running that. Iron Hands is gonna be pretty crazy. I mean, Electric Fighting with 140 attack. Yeah, it's a bit slow, but you do get Close Combat. You do have Volt Switch. You do have Thunder Punch. You also, I believe, get Body Press. Yeah, of course. Body Press to use that 108 defense is going to be really solid, too. If you want to go full bulk, like all attack and all defense on it. Gets all the elemental punches. Going to be a really strong Pokemon. Drain Punch, too. Would not ignore that. Iron Jugulus, better Hydreigon straight up. Gets all the moves you really want on it. I mean, it has Air Slash. It has a knockoff. You want to go with that, but you really want to use your Dark Pulse for your special attack. You can also run Snarl, go more bulky, especially for like a VGC play too. Hurricane's going to be pretty decent. Flash Cannon, of course. Lots of good stuff for this guy's moveset at the end of the day. Iron Thorns, honestly, is not going to be viable. It's just worse Tranitar. I just cannot recommend running this over Tranitar. Iron Bundle is going to be an insane Hail Sweeper. I mean, 124 special attack, 136 speed. This thing gets Aurora Veil, and that's honestly the most important thing. It can set up Aurora Veil, so you're gonna want to use this guy for sure, and it has a really good moveset overall. Iron Valiant is a little bit crazy. With 130 attack, 120 special attack, 116 speed, this thing gets Spirit Break. A stab Spirit Break is going to be crazy. Also, it gets close combat, Leaf Blade, Night Slash, Psycho Cut. Lots of fantastic moves. So many TMs. Even gets a liquidation. Like, this thing's crazy. Has Aura Sphere. I think the big issue is this guy does not get play rough, which is honestly not too great, but you can run this as a mix attacker or full physical or full special. So many options on this guy. And then the Dark Quartet, and honestly, all these Pokemon are broken. It's hard to say which one's going to be the most broken at the end of the day, but I think Ting Lu, the Dark Ground one, which lowers the, I believe, the special attack of all Pokemon on the field besides itself, is probably going to be the best one. But then the Dark Ice Cat here, Ching Pao, also going to be insane because it lowers the defense of all Pokemon in the field, and it's 130 attack and 135 speed. So that's going to be crazy. The other two are going to be really good too, but for the most part, the other two are going to be way better. But I think all these are going to be OU or Uber automatically. And of course, the moment allowed in VGC, it's going to be a total shit show. Koraidon, Miraidon, of course, are broken. Don't even really go over those. At the end of the day, they're just the legendaries. They're going to be great Pokemon no matter what happens, honestly. Box legendaries always are. And then we got the Tinkatuff line. Tinkatuff, honestly, very disappointing. I'm just going to say this. Its stat spread is really low. And yes, it has that one special move, but Tinkaton's just not that good, honestly. I think it'll be good in VGC because it has a lot of good supporting moves for VGC. But I don't know. I mean, it has Fake Out, which is a big one, right? So we'll see. I will see how good it does in VGC. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it's going to be too good. Armarouge, Cyrilege, I don't think they're going to be too great at the end of the day, honestly. Toadscroll is interesting, I just want to say, because it does get Spore. So pretty decent. Has Spore. So definitely something to bring up. And honestly, Clodsire is insane. Better, literally better Quagsire in every way, every possible way. And it has Unaware. And it also has a really good moveset. Also has Body Press, which is really interesting too. For that max defense as well. So I think this is going to replace a regular Quagsire in my opinion. And last but not least, Annihilate. All I got to say is this Pokemon disappoints me because it did not get Poltergeist. Poltergeist is not in the game yet, so it doesn't actually have a really good physical ghost move in the moment. So its best physical ghost move, I believe, is like Shadow Punch. So a little bit disappointed with this guy. Well, there's my analysis for all of the really good Pokemon for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Let me know what your analysis is in the comment section below. If there's a Pokemon I missed out and didn't talk on. I know I talk about pretty much all the Pokemon at the bottom of the decks here, but let me know if I missed anything, if you disagree with me, you agree with me, or anything else. And of course, guys, keep it tuned for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet action here. We're doing guides, Let's Plays, and everything else in between. Peace out and have a good one.